It's 5:35, so if you'd like to join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic of the States, one nation under God, indivisible. Calling the meeting to order, we will just jump down to public comments, petitions, memorials. It looks like first is Julie Bergman et al. And others, or anybody else who wants to come up here and discuss the Rainbow Communications fiber upgrade. I was gonna say, and I know you're not Julie.
Yeah.
So. Sorry.
Hi, my name is Angie Kreider. I'm the Director of Business Development for Rainbow Communications. With me tonight, I do have Julie Bergman. And she is our Senior Business Development Specialist. And I have Jared Enneking also, and he is our Customer Relations Manager. And so they're here to help me field any questions you guys might have. But it's been a little while since we've been in front of you to kind of update you on what Rainbow's progress is in town and what we're up to. And so we've also included a packet of information and provided that to Becky as far as what advancements we're making in the fiber technology in town. And so I'm not going to read it page by page, so you have time to look at that later, but we did want to come tonight. We've been to the county commissioners already and done this announcement, so you may have seen it in their minutes a few weeks ago, but Rainbow is announcing that we will start a construction project this summer to upgrade all of the cable modem system into fiber for all of the residents within the city limits of Hiawatha. And so what that means basically is that the advancement in the technology, right now you have sufficient speeds with the cable modem system, but as we all know, there's more and more demand for higher speeds. And so the company made the decision to just upgrade all of the residents to fiber also. And so in 2014, we ran fiber to all the business districts. So when you look in this packet of information, you'll be able to see the map that shows with those blue lines everywhere that fiber already is within the city. And then what we'll be doing is branching off of those connections to provide fiber throughout the whole area. This expansion with the fiber is a $5.4 million investment that Rainbow's making into the community. It will serve obviously your 3,313 residents is what we had from Google. So we're close there. And the construction will begin, like I said, in this summer. We're hoping somewhere around July. And construction should be completed by the end of the year. Hopefully doing some installs by the end of the year, but definitely first quarter of 2024. Basically no expense to the residents. The current customers that have Rainbow will obviously be reaching out to them. They'll have access to higher bandwidth plans that'll be real similar, if not the same price of what they're paying now. They'll just have the advanced technology of having fiber ran directly to their home. We will also, in upgrading this network, it will make the whole Rainbow fiber network a 10 gig network. And so what that means is for all of the anchor institutions being your schools, libraries, anyone that's requiring multi-gig technology, they'll have access to multi-gig also now. Currently, we provide a 1 gig by 1 gig service. And so that will advance that to be multi-gig because it's just all headed in that direction to need more bandwidth. Does anybody questions about that or?
I think it sounds exciting.
Yeah. It's about 85 miles of fiber that'll be hung on the poles and lashed to the existing infrastructure that we have in town. And so it's going to be a great project.
I thought you had 50 now.
We do. The cable modem service right now, we're providing from the cable modem service, you can get 350 by 20, like as a speed. So you're definitely not underserved or not served. It's just faster.
I got
you. And more capacity.
All right.
Yeah. And so it was time to do an upgrade, and it was either upgrade our cable modem system or upgrade it all to fiber, and the companies chose to just upgrade it all to fiber. So you'll have symmetrical 1 gig by 1 gig services to residents, and then multi-gig services, which would be, up to a 10 gig connection for the anchor institutions and schools.
Okay.
Yeah.
So will a lot of this be buried
No, actually, it'll all, most of it, if it's buried now, then we would need to bury again, but most of the plant in Hiawatha is all aerial. It's already on the poles. And like I said, you can see from that map, the blue lines there, that's already aerial fiber that's in existence. The places that will upgrade the cabling, the fiber will lash to the existing cable that's there on the poles already. So most of the upgrades will all be aerial. But like I said, if there's a section in town that's buried now, we'll go back with buried. But like I said, most of all of the cable modem that's coming into homes, and it's all on the poles at the moment. We are looking at areas outside the city limits also, and we'll be doing some marketing campaigns to those areas north of town, south of town, expanding our footprint out as we do the fiber expansion. We will also have the plant capabilities to expand farther out into the other communities. So as we get started on the construction and see where we're at on that, the main infrastructure will be done first. But then if we have enough take rate to south out by the country club or north where the other newer homes are being built out there on the north side of town, and just we've kind of looked at the whole area and how can we stretch the plant out each direction in Hiawatha too. So people that live in those surrounding areas will be getting notification from us to call in and express interest in that. We know what directions to expand the plant.
That sure would be nice, just from our all COVID experience, you know, and how difficult it was for the kids outside of the city to get the internet they needed to do all the work. So
Absolutely.
hopefully that doesn't happen again, but
Right,
that would be
right.
nice.
But I think there's just been such an awareness that you can work from home or people are schooling from home that the demand is not quite as severe as it is, but there's still a demand, which kind of leads into like the next information we have is kind of just to touch on the highlights of the BEAD grant that the BEAD funding that will be coming out this summer. Also, the federal government has set aside $42 billion to invest in broadband equity access and deployment. Kansas, every state is guaranteed at least 100 million. We're hoping that Kansas gets around 200 million. And so you'll see some grant opportunities coming around for that, for areas that are either not served or underserved. And fortunately in our area here, Rainbow has covered that sufficiently. And so really for within the city limits, there's not really any grant funding available for that. But as the speeds increase, as far as what the requirements are right now, to be sufficiently covered, you would have a 25/3. And you can see that within the city limits, you have way more than that coverage at a 350/20 for residents, and then gig services, which is 1,000/1,000 for businesses. But we just kind of wanted to make some awareness of this grant funding that would be coming out, because you might hear a lot about the FCC mapping and what's covered and what's not covered in your next page on there. If you go into the FCC broadband maps, you can see what is listed as covered providers within the city limits. We kind of just did a snapshot here off of those maps to just kind of show you that the map on the top with all the green dots, that's if you have sufficient internet by 25/3. And you can see the map on the bottom is 1,000, which would be your gig by 100. And so with doing the upgrade within all the city limits to put fiber capabilities, that's going to bridge that gap. And next year at this time, that'll be completely covered with green, that you'll have capabilities of 1 gig for everybody within the city limits.
It's exciting. Not
Yeah.
that long, not that far away.
No,
We're almost April. So
yes, exactly. And so that's what, because we have been in communication with Evergy and the poles. And so we got a green light to be able to use those poles to go ahead and lash our fiber onto that, since our existing cable is on it. So that's going to expedite that process, and we'll be able to get started this summer. So,
On the part of the cable that goes below grade,
mhm.
do you locate the existing services, or would you be calling Brad? to mark
We'll
stuff?
we'll be accessing using one call, but we'll be back to talk to the city officials when we're looking to
I
do
know how
buried
much
too, to
effort
work
that
with the city
People
to have
are
all of that
having-
marked out. I'm not going to say it's not going to happen, but we'll do everything possible to make sure everything's marked. And
But I didn't know how much time that would involve with our people. That's why I was asking.
Yeah, it's gonna be an ad. Yeah, it will be an ad, but for the most part, Kansas One Call comes in and, they won't mark everything out, but we will be utilizing the city employees to make sure that the contractor is not getting into city facilities and
Okay.
But yeah, it will require some time with that. And like I said, when we get a little bit closer, because there are some areas in town that it is buried and they'll need to have it marked out and trench in a new line. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions?
Okay. Well,
Thank you
thank
very
you for
much.
your time tonight. And like
Thanks.
I said, we'll be back to talk a little bit more
Okay, thanks for all
as
of
it
you for coming.
progresses.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Next time, don't draw the short straw, just saying.
Next time I'll come and sit and
Uh, Okay, next, Matthew Young from the Brown County Extension Office.
Good evening.
Evening.
Matt Young, Brown County Extension Office. And tonight I'm talking to you guys a little bit about the 2023 farmers market that we have here in Hiawatha. And basically, we're asking for permission to be able to host the farmers market again this summer. The plans are to have it the same as we have for years. And there has been a little change in leadership. Angela Twomley has been kind of the leader of the Hiawatha Farmers Market for a number of years. And I've been helping her behind the scenes quite a bit with making sure we follow all the sales tax stuff and food safety through the state of Kansas. And she's wanting to step down this year. And we really didn't have anybody else in leadership that wanted to step up and take over that. So it kind of fell on me.
That
I'm-
short straw thing.
Yeah,
I
kind of
think.
it happens a lot around it. But I'd be happy to help keep the
Mhm.
farmers market going. My wife and I are also one of the larger vendors at the farmers market. And it's a really good event for the
Mhm.
community. I wouldn't say it's a huge money maker for anybody selling anything, but it is a good event and community project. And basically, we're just looking for permission to have it in that grassy area next to the skate park from June 1st through the end of September on Thursdays. And it's been running from 4 to 6:30 on those Thursday
Mhm.
evenings. If that was something you guys are willing to let us do again, us as vendors would be thankful and also would like to put that on for the community again. And if you're not aware, I mean, one of the parts of this farmers market is that we give out a lot of free produce to senior citizens in the community through what they call senior vouchers, which are $5 coupons through the state of Kansas. And those get passed out to the elderly population as long as they meet certain requirements.
Mhm.
And then they can come and spend those at farmers market. So like me as a farmer, they give me that $5 coupon, they take their $5 worth of vegetables, and then I have to turn it in to get reimbursed. And so we do have at least 3 vendors that are certified through the state of Kansas, Kansas Department of Ag, to be able to accept those. So that is good, healthy produce getting into those hands at a
Okay.
cheap price too. So there is some benefits to the community too, but
Do you
guys-
anticipate getting any more vendors from what you had last year, about the same ones coming back, or?
we have some people interested, but we normally have people interested at this time of the
Okay.
year. Once the season actually gets going, it seems like we lose a few of those because it's more work than they thought it was going to be. But we're hoping to get a few more vegetable vendors just so we have more variety
Mhm.
and, for people to pick from. But if I had to guess, I would say it's going to be pretty much the same as it's been the last couple of years.
Got it.
So any questions from you guys or anything you'd like to see different with it?
I think it's great. I've seen you guys out there when it's just been scorching hot. And it's just good for the community and that $5 coupon helps a lot of people.
Does. We collect a lot of those a year.
Mhm.
And I could just think that that's a lot of produce that's going into people that need it.
Yeah,
Um,
that wouldn't normally get
Right,
it.
right. And it gets those people out too.
Right.
Get some fresh air and going out and seeing people
Right.
and stuff. So, yep. Any
Sounds
other
good to me.
questions?
No, well, I would entertain a motion to allow the farmer's market to run this year, just as it was last year.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? If not, Lynette?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion passed.
Thank you.
Thank you very
guys.
much,
Thank
Matt.
you.
Appreciate it. Appreciate you taking it on.
Yeah, no problem.
That's a good thing. Moving on to item C, Toby? Or Mr. Teal, I should be more formal. Mr. Teal?
I'm just here to discuss ordinance that was changed in 2009, ordinance 1062. It used to have a clause in there for hobby vehicles. I didn't know it was changed in 2009 until the other day when I got a notice from the code enforcement guy that I couldn't have my race cars
Mhm.
on a trailer in the yard. I got taken to court once when Laura Tolson was a cop for you.
So it has
And
been a while then.
the-
I was trying to remember. I was like,
Yeah.
I was not around then.
the city judge deemed it a hobby vehicle so I could have them, and I've had them in town now for 20 years. Well, the other day I got the paper in the mail multiple times.
Yeah.
And I understand the ordinance on vehicles that are street legal and stuff like that, because I had a vehicle once that I was selling. It didn't have a tag on there. So I understand that, but I got purposely built race cars that I have on my trailer. The
Mhm.
trailer can be moved. I was told I couldn't have them on my trailer anymore because they don't meet the requirements of tagged and insured and stuff, even
Mhm.
though they're not street legal vehicles.
Mhm.
So what I'm asking is, do you guys relook at that ordinance and possibly add the hobby vehicle back in? I tried getting a hold of your code enforcement many times on the phone. I finally had to corner him in here, and when I did, he told me he wasn't gonna call me back. He wasn't gonna talk to me. So I had to corner him in his office just to talk to him. And in the process of talking to him, I told him I'd been to court on this once before, and it was deemed a hobby vehicle. And I said, if I find the papers, can I go ahead and leave them on my trailer there? Because we'll load them up on a Thursday night and we go racing Friday, Saturday and
Right.
stuff. And he told me he didn't care what the judge said before. And I said, even with the judgment, and he goes, no, I'm going to do what I want to do. Which brings me a second thing. As a public official or working for the public, he should be willing to talk to people. He refused to talk to me. Like I said, I had to corner him in there, and I've dealt with Mr. Wilkie before on a fence, and we talked it over. We figured out what it was. I don't want to stir problems. I don't want to start stuff. I just would like for you to put the hobby thing back in there. I can keep them covered with the tarp if that's what it is. I mean, I don't have a problem working, doing some different things to
Right.
make sure. But when he told me, he goes, he didn't want to talk to me. He wasn't going to talk to me. And I said, well, we can't all have $200,000 homes. And he goes, but I don't like the way your property looks. And I said, well, it's not your opinion to like how my property looks. It's to follow this. And he says he does what he wants off of this. That's the other point I'm up here for, is it shouldn't be what he deems. It should be what's wrote. So, I mean, I don't want to stir problems. Right now, I got him where our swimming pool was inside a fence,
Mhm.
so they can't be seen. I know a couple people went by and looked. All I'm asking is for.
Yeah,
you
I didn't see him
possibly-
either. So I looked as well.
I got the picture he sent. If somebody wants to see the picture.
Yeah, we all got that as well.
Yeah.
And what we need to address now is, we shouldn't be seeing the cars out in front of your house, and you've taken care of that. As far as the other issue of the concerns you have about our code enforcement officer, obviously, I'm not going to talk
Yeah.
about that here, but I appreciate the
I just wanted
information.
to bring it up. I don't want to get into
Yeah.
detail on that.
And I appreciate that.
Um,
And then as far as adding hobby vehicles back into an ordinance, that's not something that we can just say, okay, let's do that now.
Yeah, I just wanted you to
But I
look
appreciate
at it for
that.
future stuff where it possibly could be added back in. I mean, I'll try to keep them in the garage as much as possible, but
that's-
there are going to be times they are going to be on the trailer because we're going to a race.
And we're not gonna keep driving by your house every night looking to see if those cars are there. I mean, I get that. And
I mean,
we got way more things to worry about than that. But as long as we're not seeing them, because there's always people who complain or not complain, they'll express their opinions. And
Yes.
so we have to investigate those as well.
and I understand that, and there will be times that they will be seen there. I'll try not to keep them out
Well, you-
long periods of time. It may be a day before, so we load them up on the trailer to go to the race, and I'll try to keep them out of view as much as possible.
Okay.
But I just wanted to have you guys possibly in the future look at that to maybe add that back in
Okay.
to there. So for people like me that do dirt track racing or
Mhm.
maybe mud run or stuff like that, where that used to be in there, where they can have that. Even if I could have them behind my garage, But he told me I couldn't have them behind the garage in the alley. The only thing behind my garage is their building. And I know most of them, so I'm not too worried about that. So even if it says something like that, where it's not in the public view of the
Right,
street,
right.
but that's all I wanted to talk to you about. I appreciate your time. And if you have any questions, in the future,
Okay.
let me know. And thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Toby. Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. Becky, did you have anything you wanted to discuss with that?
The only thing is the fire department bylaws, just 2 changes made since they were last brought to you. That the chief lives within 2 miles of the city, assistant 5 miles, and then the rest of the department is eligible if they're within the fire service area. And then there's also a change to the 1-year probation. That if the member of the department is still there, then they'll do the vote.
Anything else you wanted to add to that, Patrick?
Go ahead.
Okay,
Covered it.
okay. I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we accept the new bylaws for the volunteer.
Actually, we need a bigger emotion. We need a bigger motion just to approve the consent agenda, then that makes them
Oh,
all out at
yes.
once.
That's all in one. I keep forgetting.
Otherwise, we'll be here a long time and nobody wants.
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as read.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? If not, Lynette? Aye.
Oh.
Motion, oh, yes, you're opposing it? You just made the motion. Did you have a question, Tony? I'm sorry.
Well, I can't approve the minutes because I wasn't here.
I think it'll be okay. You read through them. Maybe.
I make the motion, but I abstain from the minutes.
Okay, that works. In case anything went wrong, you can blame us. I wasn't there. Nothing under old business, moving on to new business. First one, resolution number 2023-08, setting public hearing for unsafe/dangerous structures. So Becky?
So these are the 3 properties that we discussed at our last workshop to bring forward for unsafe and dangerous. They were started under minimum housing code. But they definitely qualify for unsafe and dangerous. So my preference is to utilize that if it, is possible versus minimum housing. So this resolution would just set the public hearing for the 3 houses, 913 Miami Street, 507 Miami Street, and 606 Kansas Avenue for May 8th at the May 8th commission meeting. And then the owners would come and show cause as to why the structure shouldn't be demolished or repaired. And then after that meeting, then you all can make that determination, and then we have to adopt another resolution ordering them to be demolished or repaired by a certain date. So all of these properties have delinquent taxes. There's 25,000 budgeted in code enforcement and general fund for demolition, abatement of nuisances, and housing code violations. The property 507 Miami Street is occupied, and we believe that the owner is selling it to the occupant on contract. So we have obviously sent the notice to the occupant as well. The other 2 properties are not occupied. And I will stand for any questions.
I say we discussed these last time too, so I don't have any questions. Does anybody else?
Go ahead. I don't. Oh, yeah. The property at 507.
Mhm.
It says taxes are current on that.
Oh,
Is
yes,
right?
that one is current. That's right.
Okay,
And that's the one that's occupied
yeah.
Yeah.
right now. Okay, if not, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 2023-08. Setting a May 8th public hearing for unsafe/dangerous structures at 913 Miami, 507 Miami, and 606 Kansas. I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? If not, Lynette?
Yeah. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Item number 2, ordinance number 2117, authorizing KDHE loan financing for phase 1A sewer project.
So this is just, it is for phase 1A, but it's actually, this is financing for the entire project, so all the phases. So we have a KDHE loan that is maxed at 2.8 million, 2.2% interest rate. Then we also have $600,000 CDBG grant. We're also applying for another CDBG grant for this project for the next phase. And then we have the loan through rural development, which is up to 1.6 million with 1.5% interest rate. And that is a 40-year loan. I believe the KDHE one is a 20-year. So this is the whole package of financing for that project. And we have to adopt an ordinance to authorize the loan per state law.
Mm.
You ready for all that, Brad? I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance number 2117, authorizing the KDHE loan agreement for KWP CRF project number C 20304201, phase 1A of the sewer project.
Second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any further discussion? Is there any further? If not, Lynette?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passed. Number 3, concrete contract.
So Brad Rosenberger is our local contractor on concrete. We set it out to bid every year and send it to 4 different companies. Brad is the only one who has bid on it since 2019. So we just reached out to him to find out what kind of pricing he was gonna offer up for this year. It seems very reasonable. It's 14.8% increase. And I looked at the producer price index of concrete and it increased by 12.6% in 22. So, you know, he's the local guy. He does a good job. I don't see a reason for us to go out to bid. And so I just would like to do an actual contract, which we've not done a contract previously. We've just accepted the bid. So this has an actual contract, and then it has we have the ability to continue contracting with them up to 3 years, I believe, when he provides new pricing each year.
I was just gonna say, I'm comfortable with that as long as we have a window in there that we can
Yeah.
look to go out if need be. And so this is 3-year prices. He doesn't increase based
No,
on.
it'll increase each year, but you know, so we'll get a pricing from him ahead of when the contract would renew. And if we're happy with it, then we can renew.
Seems like that saves us some little bit of work. Anybody have any questions? I would entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve concrete contract with J&B Contractors.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? If not, Lynette?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Moving on to the reports from staff. So Becky, that's all yours too.
Just a notification, Vietnam Veterans Day, candlelight vigil at Brown County Courthouse is on March 29th at 7 p.m. NECAP has invited commissioners, that was an invitation to commissioners to participate in a focus group. So I wanted to pass that on to you all, and please let me know if you're interested and you can reach out to them. You've got the February 2023 bank rec. And then I finally figured out how to use GWorks so that I could update that financial dashboard. So now you've got, you know, the year end one and January and February. And then does anyone have any questions on the financial dashboard, or since you haven't seen it in a little bit?
No.
All right. The cat ordinances. So we have an ordinance that you have to tag your cat. We apparently also have like a cat leash law. So people can't have their cats outside. You know, Amanda Unruh came to the commission meeting, the last commission meeting, and said, hey, they're spending like 20 grand a year on cats that get brought in. So she requested that we reevaluate those ordinances so that we are not maybe enforcing that anymore. I just wanted to get kind of a consensus from commission, if that's something that we're interested in, if you have concerns about getting rid of the cat ordinances.
And Amanda is still in favor of doing the spay neuter thing where
Mhm.
so like if somebody, because I mean, I chuckle at the whole idea of having cats on leashes and stuff. But I know for some people, it really bothers them seeing cats. I know that, but I also like the idea that my police group's not going to be going out wrangling cats. So if somebody has strays, can they just call the Brown County Humane Society and say, hey, Amanda, these cats are,
Yeah.
I mean, is
yeah.
that how they're gonna go
Yeah,
about
if
getting
if
them?
we don't have an ordinance that says you have to tag it and you can't have it outside
Right.
without a leash, then yeah, then the city they wouldn't be contacting the city, they'd be contacting the Humane Society.
Well, I'm glad to hear that we have the donation or shelter has the donation to do the spay and neutering program. And I hope she advertises that strongly and gets people to take their animals out there and have them take care of it. So this problem won't be so it won't be a problem in the future. So I'm okay with doing without the ordinance.
I mean, and the thing is, if all of a sudden we get rampant with cats, it's not like we can't what I can't think of the word. We could always change it back if we needed to, in my opinion, but what about the rest? Evans, do you have an issue with
I don't have
Rogue
an issue
cats.
with it, no.
I
Brian?
definitely don't.
Okay, so then we'll just need to let Andy know that we need to get an ordinance we need to redo the ordinance so we aren't requiring that people tag their cats.
Right.
Um,
And I can look up how much revenue we might lose if.
that's
That goes
true.
away.
I mean, that could be an issue. What is it, $3, $5 for a cat?
I think it's 10.
10?
It went up,
$10 for
I
a
think,
cat.
before you came.
A lot of times they don't put their tags on the
That's the
cat,
thing.
so
Yeah.
we used to take them out to the vet, and a lot of times, if we knew who the cat belonged to or whatever, we could just call them right there and they'd come pick it up. But, I mean, that was the only things the ID purposes, but I mean,
Yeah.
most of them don't put the tags on the cats anyways. They do the dogs pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, why would you put a tag on a house cat
I
that
know.
never goes outside?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree.
so, okay. I mean,
Why would you want to buy one?
so. Don't say that, Commissioner, if you have a cat. So anyway, thanks for the chuckle, but I would appreciate just to take that to Andy to say that we need to look at getting that ordinance changed and to do whatever magic attorneys have to do to get that to happen. So sorry, Mickey, your days of wrangling cats are over.
Just an update, Country Club affluent water agreement. We're meeting, Brad and I are meeting with Austin Roberts tomorrow. We've ordered tomorrow, Wednesday, what else, Wednesday. We've ordered the flow. You want to maybe just give an update on where we're at with it? Thanks.
Yes, that is his job now, so.
Right, he's here, so.
So at the country club, we have actually had the company that we hired to come out and clean out that basin that we use to give them water. They have been here since last Thursday. They hope to be done by tomorrow to get that done. I have ordered the flow meter and the parts that we need to install the flow meter. And so we should be able to have everything up and ready to go for them by the time that they're ready to use water.
It's great news.
So that's a hope. That's kind of the update where we're going. I think the other bid that we got for the cleaning out the basin was quite a bit lower than the one that we brought to you the last time. So I think the total price came out to 16,000. It was right around 17,000, but it's under 17,000, but it's lower than what was authorized at the last meeting. So that was good.
And is this clean out supposed to be done yearly then, or can it be every couple years?
It's something that I think that we should budget for and get it done every couple of years. That way we don't run into this problem in the future. And I think that'd be the way to go on this.
Okay.
Would this basin still be used if the country club wasn't using the water out of it? Would,
I don't believe so.
Mm-mm.
so the expense we incur is for their benefit.
Yes.
Hmm,
Which is why we had talked about potentially looking at increasing the rate for upcoming year, because it hasn't, gone up in, I don't know, ever, I think, so.
Yeah.
But we'll need to look at the cost analysis on that.
We take that sludge out to our place, or does that go to the dump?
Yeah, we take that sludge out to our place.
So for $16,000, could we buy a tank and a pump and do it ourselves?
We would have to buy a vacuum truck in order to do that ourselves, but it's something that we could probably rent and do. I imagine we could do something like that. Well, we'd have to find a company that rents exactly that kind of vacuum truck, but yeah, I mean, it's something that can be done. Especially if we ever upgraded sewer equipment, things like that, where we had like a vacuum truck, we could do that ourselves, yes.
Might be just something to look out for.
Yeah, I mean,
It's not like it's, when it was $10,000.
one of the purposes of, I have a few of my staff going down to KRWA conference, and there's a lot of vendors down there for equipment and things like that. Actually, one of the things that I told them to be on the lookout for was just for, we need to upgrade our sewer flushing, our sewer machine that we have. And I know a lot of them have the vacuum attack, it's a big truck. And so that is a possibility. And I told them to get us information on that while they were down there.
hmm.
That
It
way we
should-
can.
It
kinda
shouldn't cost
get an
that
idea.
much. Yeah, I'm sorry. It shouldn't cost that much the next time we do it, should it? Or will it?
It should not. No, the reason it costs that much this time is because of the depth of the sludge
Mhm.
and just how long they're gonna have to be here.
Right, I agree too. It'd be nice to have, if we have the ability to have the equipment.
You're gonna get
idea.
it cheaper and you're not gonna use it much, but is it, you do it every 10 years, or are you plan on doing it more often?
I would recommend doing it more often. And the reason I say that is because the deeper they're getting with the sludge, the more condensed it gets. And so it gets harder and harder to pump it out. So they actually had to go get a bigger truck themselves in order to get it out. But I'd say we need to be doing this, at least every 3. I'd say every 2 to 4 years at least. And then we would avoid this problem altogether.
Could that cut? I'm not real familiar with all these trucks, but could that truck also do hydro excavating?
It could,
Or
yes.
is that a different kind of truck?
No, it's the same kind of truck. It can do hydro excavating, and it could be used for multiple
That'd be useful.
uses. It could clean out storm sewer inlets, get rid of the leaves and things like that. You can have a lot of uses for a truck like that.
Cool.
Well, hope they find something.
Yeah, I hope they do too. We'll get some information and get some pricing, and hopefully
Good idea.
come budget time, we can kind of discuss some of these things.
All right. Thank you, Brad.
Thank you.
Do you want to give an update on the traffic signal while you're up there?
Yes.
It's on the list and I can't remember what the pricing was.
So with the traffic signals, I can probably pull up that email. Actually, let me do that. With the traffic signals, we have we had a meeting with KDOT and Mayor Schamberg was there. And I believe the superintendent of the school was also there. And in this meeting, we had discussed what we're going to do with the traffic signals. And the tone of the meeting was that they're not going to require us to take the one down on Iowa, but we have to figure out what we're going to do with the one at First in Oregon, which we've been going down the road of replacement this whole time. And so kind of in discussion with them, there was something that they said that they may let us repair that, which would be a lot less cost to the city than full replacement. And so what I did, I went out and I got a price from the same company that came after they fell. Hang on a second, I just misspelled that. And the quote was, let me bring it up. Okay, so rewiring the intersection is going to be $7,200, and that's rewiring, because that's our major problem, what we have with the intersection right now. The other major problem is that we don't have a pole that is up. And so I talked to them about finding a replacement pole that works on the foundation. They did not have one. They could put up another wooden pole like we had there before that kind of looked like it was temporary. That would be an extra 10,150. Or they can put a metal pole up, which would look more permanent, but they would have to put a new foundation, and that would be 21,000 to do that. And so if they put the new metal pole up, it would be 28,200 to do that intersection, just to get it back operational as it was. Now, I have been in discussion with the same company about upgrading the system, because it can be done, upgrading the box that we have, the controllers, and putting a camera system there. And so it could be, make that compliant as what KDOT wants there. And so you could actually make that intersection compliant. I don't have that pricing yet. He hasn't sent me that quote back yet. But so we're going down this, we're kind of going down this road right now. Becky sent a email to KDOT to see if this is something that they would allow us to do.
I didn't really ask. I just said, hey, we're
Yeah.
just.
Right, yeah.
So,
I guess my concern is if we spend the money and then 2 years down the road, they come in and say, get it out of here. I would want something. from
That's
them
why I
saying-
sent Kate off the email.
Yeah. And so this is kind of the update on where we're going currently.
And I said, we never really did investigate the repair it, because our first few meetings was like, no, we were told we couldn't do that. So we just kind of let it go. Well, we've kind of gone up the food chain a bit and have gotten that different feel from them.
Yes.
So I would be curious to see what it would cost to do the camera system. I'm sure it's not going to be what we really want to spend, but I mean, it's worth investigating.
They seem to indicate that a new camera system, they've been using them a lot. And he said in Manhattan and Emporia and places like this, it's just one camera instead of four, and it controls. And so they're able to put it up on, like, say, the main pole where the controller is. And he was indicating that the camera system itself was under 20,000 installed. Now, that would be the only problem there at First in Oregon, is that we would also have to, we'd have to buy a new controller, a new box, and that's all going to be at an additional cost. And so now at first in Iowa, that might not be necessary, but at First in Oregon, that would be necessary if we wanted to upgrade to a camera system there.
So if we put the pole up though, that gets us 2 lights then?
That gets us 2 lights. That gets us back compliant, and we can run the traffic signals the way that they were before this happened, I guess is a good way to put it.
Is the pole that's there now, is that in decent shape, or is there?
We actually had a structural analysis done on those after they fell, and they were found to be in decent shape at that time.
You're talking about the wooden pole that's
Or the
there.
metal pole that's where the controller box is that?
Yes. That's something that if we did decide to go down this route, I would recommend that we have a different structural analysis done, just to make sure that we're not wasting money and that
Yeah.
we're gonna have other poles falling down 3 years from now.
We could probably break this up and
Yeah. that's what I
do
was thinking.
some each year. I mean,
Yeah,
get the thing working with a new pole, and then maybe upgrade the box and put cameras at a later time. Does that
Yeah.
sound right, or
yeah, that's
spread the cost out a little bit?
that's the way,
Like
that's the way,
once, but
that's the way I would
Be
probably
done
would have
with it.
proposed it, because we can do one intersection with camera, and then we can move on to, like, say, Iowa Street, and then we can fix that problem where everybody complains about sitting at a red light at,
Yeah,
9 o'clock when there's nobody around. It would alleviate that problem. It would make those compliant as to what KDOT really wants us to do.
Well, they do make roundabouts.
don't even go there.
You are now off the commission, Evan.
Yeah. Right.
I want to see our semi-traffic coming through by the Red Bull.
Yeah.
screaming through
Yeah,
on
I
a
know it.
roundabout.
I have to ask, is there like a big footing or something when they set a pole to make it cost $10,000 to $20,000?
So on what they're proposing is that the foundation would be 36 inches in diameter and 10 feet deep.
Gee,
Yeah, it's chunk concrete.
And so, and I think a lot of it is just a lot of the labor cost involved with that too. You know, the concrete cost is a fairly minimal there, but a lot of labor costs, I would imagine.
Makes more sense though.
Yeah,
10 foot deep.
10 feet,
Yeah.
10 feet deep. And I'm sure that's
Holy
by
moly.
some kind of a code, I'm sure.
I guess
Wind will
someone
knock
has
that
somebody
one
hits it.
over,
Yeah.
or car.
Well, so we say there's a chance, I guess. I mean, at least I feel like we're moving forward more than what we have been for quite a while. So that meeting is worthwhile. And I
Yeah, that
appreciate,
sounds more encouraging.
yeah, I appreciate the work you did to
Yeah.
get
It,
bids.
it does feel like at least some progress is being made in this area, and we will. As soon as I know, we'll be updating you, of course. So
Okay.
We put a 3 foot diameter foundation where the old pole was. Isn't there a crosswalk that comes out right there where that pole was? There's no place for,
I think we'd have,
no area left to walk, is there?
there would not be. I think we'd have to probably pull the old foundation and then go back, because the conduit is there as well. So we'd want the conduit coming up in the middle of that
Sure.
foundation, so we could have all the wiring internal instead of having. Right now, it's just on the western our Evergy pole,
Right,
so
right.
it's get that out of the external where people can actually grab a hold of it.
Mm.
In worst case scenario, if we had to take one of them out, if we were to remove the lights at Iowa, could we use those at First in Oregon? Or would that just be a ton more money versus losing? If you're gonna lose one of the lights, First in Oregon, I think is the one that everybody would want. So could we use the stuff at Iowa and get our First in Oregon light together?
I hadn't thought about that possibility. I'm sure that is something that we could probably look at, though. Yes, we'd have to put new foundations, but that's something that we can do. Yeah, we could go in that direction if that's
Worst case
a
scenario.
worst case scenario.
I think
That's-
everybody would rather have First in Oregon and not have Iowa, but can't
Yeah.
speak for everybody either.
If I had to choose, yes, that's
Yeah.
the one I would choose as well.
Well, if we could change Iowa and put cameras on it so the traffic flows unless somebody's coming up from the side streets, I think that'd help a lot.
It would, yes.
Well, we'll wait for that next
thought.
bid and wait and see what we hear from
Find some-
Leroy, and we'll see.
All right, sounds good. Any other questions about anything?
No.
Okay.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you.
So that pops us back up to the HEFID Housing Committee.
Yes, I just wanted to update you all. I talked with HEFID about potentially the city having a housing advisory board. They have their housing committee, and I didn't want to like step on anyone's toes, but like the city is the one that enforces the code and, you know, things like that, that are all the things that are needed, you know, the zoning and all of that, that are needed to really move along housing. And they were interested in us doing something like that. Obviously, they would like some representation on the board, and it would be they would submit, you know, when we would advertise the board, and then they would submit for membership on the board. We'd have to figure out what the composition of the board is, all of that, but I'm hoping that you all are interested in moving something like this forward. So if you're not, then
Okay.
please tell me. And the other thing was that there was some statutes in the packet on abandoned housing. If the housing study said that the city needed to be more aggressive or something with the abandoned housing statute. I had never heard of it before. But it's actually not a city thing. It would be, you'd have a nonprofit group that could petition the district court to try and get, I guess, possession of an abandoned home. An abandoned home is one that has taxes are at least 2 years delinquent, and it's not been occupied by the owner of the property for 90 days. So they could go to district court, ask for possession of the property, rehab the property, and then rent it out. But the owner would be able to come back and say, you know, they can get their house back basically if they pay what was invested in it. But it'd be subject to any rental agreements that are in place. So HEFID is a nonprofit organization. They do not seem very interested in moving something like that forward. Ideally, I think this would be used more in communities. I think it's used in communities where they have a CHODO, which is Community Housing Development Organization. We don't have one of those. I don't know if we can utilize a CHODOs that from another area. So I'm going to look into that, but that is potentially a way that we could address some of our housing issues and get, old homes rehabbed.
Well, if they're nonprofits, how do they get the money to? rehab houses?
Donations or, yeah. I don't know if there's any grants out there for nonprofits for something like that. Potentially, that'd be something to look into. So that's the housing update. Idle funds. I need to talk to Andy about this because I think that I have to come to you all. So, and in Kansas, we can invest our idle funds, a cash balance basically, that we don't need for operating. We can invest them in either the Kansas Municipal Insurance Pool or investment pool or in local banks. And we can go out for bid for CDs. And then what I've done in previous places is gone out for bid locally for CDs. If they can't match the MIP rate, then we would invest in the MIP. As far as I can tell, we've never utilized the MIP here. And it's been a really long time since we invested in the idle funds. I found some minutes from 2009 or something that where we had some CD investments. So I don't know what the process is for me to go out to bid. I think it was always brought to the commission before. So I'm assuming that we must have some kind of something in our purchasing policy that's adopted by ordinance that says I have to bring it to the commission. So I need to look into that, but we need to start investing our idle funds because the overnight rate at the MIP is like 4.59%, which we could put anything overnight and just stick it in there. And we're making less than 1% on our bank accounts right now. So I'm going to reach out to GN Bank, which is who has our accounts, and kind of let them know that this is the direction we're looking at moving. If I do have to bring it to you guys, then I would probably bring you an ordinance that says that we can just go out to bid locally and then invest in MIP if that's the higher rate. So that it's coming up, but I want to make some money on our money. So
We have a stoplight to pay for, so if you could do that.
And then Brian, take it away with your radio announcement.
So for those of you that do not know me, my name is Brian Williams. I'm the captain at the police department. Before the radio thing, Mickey would like me to announce that Dustin Winters, one of our officers, he is turned in his resignation. His last day will be on the 5th of April. He is taking the chief of police at Highland. So we wish him the best. In his place, we've hired Paige Niggas. She is currently a dispatcher at the Brown County Sheriff's Office. And she's been there for probably 10 years or better. So looking forward to getting her going. The radios, we several months ago, quite a while ago, the Sac and Fox Tribal Police Department, they had secured funds and they had purchased new radios for their department. And in conversation, I asked what they were planning to do with their old radios. It was about 6 or 7 of them, I believe. We offered to actually pay for them, and we figured up maybe a ballpark about $200 a radio, I think what it was, somewhere in the ballpark of $2,500 roughly. He needed to take the proposal or the idea to his tribal council. They actually elected to just donate them to us. So we will get used radios, but much needed radios that we are struggling with. To put it in perspective, there's a portable radio, which is what we carry on our body. The mobile radios is what are in the cars. A portable radio on me is brand new. Today's date would be about $4,000 to $5,000. The car radios are just a little bit more than that. But they're expensive. So even though these radios are used and they're older, they're gonna help us out a lot. Most of our officers now with the signal, the radio tower up at Reserve helped a lot, but there's still some areas in town where just if you're inside a house or a building, they operate kind of the same way as a cell phone, their cell signal, but they're not like an old radio like they used to be. These radios will help a lot. Most of our officers now carry the old radios just because of the current radios that we have don't transmit or receive very well. So we've also got Officer Lowe. We've got him working on a lot of grants. We're trying to find some grant funding to get us some new radios, but I think that's about it. Any questions? To thank them, we made out thank you cards. I personally delivered them on their council meeting this last Tuesday, or a week ago to Tuesday. So, and they were very grateful for that too. So
I wouldn't mind getting a name too, that I could write something as well.
sure,
So I'll just shoot you a text and find out.
perfect.
Thank you.
No questions.
I mean, if you want to stay up here longer, you can.
Sure.
Give you that option.
All
So
right.
thanks. I don't think anything else.
Thanks, Brian.
I guess I have a question. Since he will be leaving, his name just
Dustin.
Dustin. There will be a replacement coming.
Yes, already hired Paige. which will be-
Oh, you said that.
She will fill in his.
I was listening, really, because I know so many negatives. And anyway, I apologize to everyone.
No worries. Okay, moving on to governing body comments. I just wanted to point out that we've had 2 new businesses open just recently. And I think that's anytime we get new businesses opening in town is a reason to celebrate. So there's that. Commissioner Shepherd,
I don't have anything today.
Commissioner Mindorf.
I didn't get a chance, Patrick, I didn't get a chance to thank you for your efforts on the house fire and your staff that you worked hard, and that was a lot of work and dangerous. So tell you guys thanks. They did a good job. So keep it up.
I will do. Thank you.
Commissioner Wilkie
I have nothing.
and Commissioner Holt.
Well, I have just a couple things, very short. The first one is that I would really like, even though there's just a few of us here, to take a moment of silence for what happened today in Nashville with the school shooting and the tiny children that were killed and the adults too. If we could do that, please. Thank you. Having grandchildren and great grandchildren in elementary school, that school shootings always affect me. Any shooting does, but this one really did. And I just want to thank our police force. for all that they do. And when I tell you to be safe out there, I truly mean it from the bottom of my heart. And I hope that you tell your officers that also. And Patrick, the same with you and your guys. And I think that's all I have. Oh, the pancake fee. You know, I always think about my stomach. When is the pancake fee
Summer.
again? April 30th. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you. That's my happy.
Sure.
Meeting's not over yet. But that's all I have for now. Thank you, Mayor.
You better make sure you save some pancakes until, in case Tony's late getting there. I'm just saying, it'd be a bad thing if you don't.
So I have a couple things.
Siri, remind me of the pancake.
Sorry. Good. I have a couple other things that I was gonna bring up that weren't on the actual agenda.
Okay.
Municipal finance course that is taught by the League of Kansas Municipalities. It's April 19th. It was in Dodge City, but they just opened it up that it's going to be virtual as well. So I would really, really, really encourage anyone that is available to sign up for that and just let me or Lynette know, and we can get you signed up for April 19th from 10 to 2.
Was it an all day thing? Oh,
10
10
to
to 2.
2.
You just said 10 to 2 as I was already asking a question before I even listened to you. Oh.
10 to 2 virtual when?
Yeah, April
April.
19th. And then May 5th is the advanced municipal finance from 9 to noon. And that is also virtual. So I would also really encourage any commissioners that are interested to sign up for that.
And that one's which one again?
May 5th, advanced municipal finance. It's not actually advanced. You don't have to take one then the other, but that's how they name them. So,
So 10 to 2 and 9 to noon.
yep. I took that class like 15 years ago when I first got in city government. I remember it being excellent. So. And then the other thing is Dave Grimm. We are going to have a retirement party for him on April 10th or reception, I guess, at our commission meeting. We've got, he's officially off the payroll now. So we wanted to throw a little party for him. He's here 34 years, I believe. So long time service to the city. Wanted to recognize him. So April 10th,
That might be a good thing.
we'll have cake.
Okay. Or we could have Patrick do pancakes. Options are there.
What day was it again?
Freeze whatever
I was-
leftover pancakes you had.
And is it all day? Because I don't remember. Okay, anyway, I'm gonna move on to the next item, which is executive session. How long are you gonna need, Becky?
Gosh, I should be prepared for that question.
Yeah, you should.
Ask every time, but
You wanna start with 15,
let's do 20.
20?
Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that the city commission recess into executive session in the conference room for 20 minutes to discuss matters of potential litigation. The justification for closing the meeting is to consult with the city attorney to discuss matters privileged under the attorney-client relationship. The open meeting will resume at 6:59 PM in the commission chambers, and to include the city administrator and the city attorney via phone. Is there a second?
Second.
Oh,
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, Lynette?
All in favor?
Aye. Motion passed. We at 6:59.
Recording.
I don't know, what is it? Okay, I'd like to add 6:59. The city commission is called back into open meeting. The commission took no binding action during executive session. That's a motion, so can I have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Not? Lynette?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion passed. I will make a motion that the city commission recess into executive session at the conference room for 15 minutes to discuss matters of potential litigation. The justification for closing the meeting is to consult with the city attorney to discuss matters privileged under the attorney-client relationship. The open meeting will resume at 7:14. I think, yeah, 7:14. And I'd lost my train of thought. And we'll include the city administrator and the city attorney by phone.
Second.
Moving second, any further discussion? If not, Lynette?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion passed. Nothing comes out. I'd like to make a motion that the city commission is called back into session. Called back into open meeting at 7:15. The commission took no binding action during executive session. Is there a second?
Second.
Lynette?
Aye.
Aye. Wait. Motion passed. Make a motion that the city commission recess into executive session in the conference room for 20 minutes to discuss matters of potential litigation. Justification for closing the meeting is to consult with the city attorney to discuss matters privileged under the attorney-client relationship. The open meeting will resume at 7:37 in the commission chambers and to include the city administrator and city attorney via phone. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Go ahead.
Lynette?
Perfect.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
What are you gonna do if I say we're going in for 20 more minutes?
20 more minutes.
Get what? I'll make a motion that at 7:39, the city commission is called back into open meeting. Commission took no binding action during executive session. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved in second. Lynette?
All in favor?
We're about to vote. We're- Say
Aye.
aye. Or motion passed. I have a motion for adjournment,
So moved.
Second.
moved and seconded. Lynette?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Motion passed. 20 till 8, people. We can't let that happen again.